And would everybody rise and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, or just join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it
which
stands,
stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Mr. Young, can you call the roll, please?
Yes. Mike Hammond,
Here.
Patrick Kelsey,
Here.
Tom Ukaitis,
Here.
Ryan Anderson, Mildred McNeil James,
here,
Marion Bond, and Joe Yen.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes from February 6th, 2020. I have a motion. Can't believe it's been that long. Wow.
I move to approve the minutes as written.
A second?
I second. Who was the second? I'm sorry.
Tom?
You?
Yes.
Patrick Kelsey,
Yes.
Tom Ukaitis,
Yes.
Mildred McNeil James,
yes,
Joe Yen,
Yes.
and Mike Hammond.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Next item on the agenda. Bear with me one second. I'm flipping through this thing and I'm losing my place in the Adobe. Okay. Item on the agenda is the 2020-005 SU public hearing and consideration of a text amendment to a special use for an outdoor cafe located at 1700 Douglas Road, Grandma's Table. Planner Chipman. Oh, that's right. Mhm.
Question about the accessibility. Who certifies accessibility to the Illinois Accessibility Code for a project like this? Okay, so we don't follow the part of the code that requires that an architect or an engineer sign for a design for the accessibility piece of the code? What about existing construction? This is the issue is one of equity and having just gone through something with another organization. I think we need to make sure that we're following the accessibility code very clearly, because if we have one restaurant that we require it of and we don't another, and it's any piece of the code, we just put ourselves at risk. So I guess I'd like to see that that's something we can respond to.
The best I can. And they're helping my visitors, the patio, because on the weekend when it's busy, let me pull this down a little bit. When it's busy, I had the people sitting outside because the capacity is inside only 50 people. And then you have to turn them down. So I can, Sunday and Saturdays, I can put about 30 people outside to sit. And that gives me a little bit extra cash flow to go through to make it in this area we're living in, this COVID. Because otherwise, I don't want to shut my doors down. It helps a lot, the patio, in the meantime.
Are there any questions of the petitioner or of staff? Any additional questions?
I have a question. I was wondering if down the road you are giving any consideration to landscaping, something to soften the outdoor ambiance? Nothing that the current request is dependent upon.
Yeah, like what kind of landscape? I don't understand what would you like me to do?
Sorry.
I'm sorry, what kind of landscaping?
There isn't anything, specific that I was in mind, unless you had, some greenery or something in large flower pots to soften.
I do have some flower pots up in the front, and I do have some in the back. Some big flower pots. I do have some. I had 4 up in the front, big ones, and 4 in the back.
Okay,
And yes, I do have it. And and everything takes time and everything. I like to do the same thing what Nancy D. crosses the Dairy Queen, get rid of the old traps and put something new and make it even better in front of the restaurant. But money only goes so far. I think other
yes.
priorities are first, like the parking lot, which I like to do, and I like to behind the parking lot. If I do the parking lot behind there, I like to throw some gravel and put some like a 2-foot fence to keep the debris from going back to there and looking like trash, and have easier to clean it up. Because right now everything's going back there to the debris and looks trashy.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Jared, I had a question. So what would it take to get the approval that Patrick was just speaking about?
About what?
Yeah, we were talking about that accessibility ramp. And so it would just take a plan revision. So a quick plan be submitted and staff would review that improvement per the accessibility code.
I mean, how long does something like that take?
That's a good question. It kind of depends on, if the petitioner has somebody handy, et cetera, but in general, it would not take very long. There are details that are already in the code book that an
Okay.
architect would largely place on a plan, and that would be almost it
Okay.
as far as the accessibility would be concerned.
Okay, because my concern is, making people have to wait and prolong their ability to use their facilities, and especially in this environment, where small businesses every day are going out of business and people who are employed there are losing their jobs or seriously not making money. I think if we can expedite this at all,
Sure, and there's.
if the commission approves,
Mike,
Just-
Mr. Chairman, I'd recommend that with whatever motion comes forward from the commission, that you make it contingent upon an architect or an engineer providing a design drawing for the handicap ramp that will be reviewed by the village engineer and building official for compliance with the handicap accessibility code.
Rich, is there any reason that they can't continue under the temporary ordinance until that's approved?
Yes, they can continue under the temporary ordinance until that's satisfied.
So my request is not a burden to remaining
No,
open.
it would not. No, it will not affect their operation as is.
All right, thank
Okay.
you.
Jared, I have a question. Are there any additional insurance requirements for having additional space there?
I believe the only additional insurance requirements pertain to liquor license, and Grandma's Table has an existing liquor license that already has an outdoor space. So to my knowledge, there would not be, I'm also not an insurance professional, but our code would not require any additional insurance.
Okay.
Besides the liquor license.
All right. And then is there any safety concerns since, both of those sides happen to be, where the cars would come in or go out?
Yeah,
We looked at that, excuse me, Jared. We looked at that with the engineer as well, and with the railing that they have in place, it takes away those concerns in terms of, it's nothing that's going to stop a vehicle going 30 miles an hour, obviously, but
Sure.
it does help to protect the folks that are seated behind the railings.
Okay. Thank you.
Any more questions from anybody or comments? If not, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Jared, are there any people looking to comment on this item?
No, the chat is empty. I do not have any comments.
Okay. Then we'll go ahead and close the public hearing on this item and go through the findings of fact. A, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of the special use will not be detrimental to endanger the public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare. Staff's response: this should not endanger the public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare. That the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of other properties in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, not substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. Response: this should not be injurious or diminish property values. C, that the establishment of the special use will not impede normal and orderly development, and improvement of the surrounding property for uses permitted in the district. Response: the proposed use does not prohibit the use of surrounding property and is normal and orderly. D, that adequate utilities, access roads, drainage, and/or facilities have been or are being provided. Response: adequate utilities, roads, drainage have been planned for. E, adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in public streets. Response: the property provides adequate ingress and egress. F, that the special use shall in all the other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it's located, except as such regulations in each instance may be modified by the village board pursuant to recommendations of the plan commission. So those are the findings of fact. There's further comments, questions on this? Any further discussion? Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'll look for a motion.
Move to approve PC 2020-05, amending the special use for an outdoor cafe located at Grandma's Table, 1700 Douglas Road, with the following addition to the recommendation that the petitioner have a licensed design professional prepare a plan for review by staff and the village engineer for compliance with the Illinois Accessibility Code.
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey. So I'll look for a second.
I'll second.
Mildred McNeil James has seconded. Mr. Young, can you call a roll, please?
Certainly. Patrick Kelsey,
Yes.
Mildred McNeil James,
Yes.
Tom Ukaitis,
Yes.
Joe Yen,
Yes.
and Mike Hammond.
Yes. Motion passes, and this will be on the Monday, August 10th agenda of the village board.
Okay. Yes, it goes to the village board on Monday.
Okay, so then pass week.
Yep, next week.
Next week.
They'll talk about it next week.
Monday, yep.
Okay.
Next item on the agenda is 2020-006 SU public hearing, consideration of a special use for an outdoor cafe located at 283 Montgomery Road,
So we're done with
Poor
your
Boys
item.
Pub.
We're
Minor
going
Chipman.
to move into the next item.
Okay, so.
So you can stay or you can leave.
Oh,
Either way is
okay,
fine.
but, next Monday, right?
Yep.
I have to-
I'll talk. I'll call you.
You have to come here next Monday too? Monday?
yeah.
At 7?
Yep.
Okay. I'll see you Monday at
Okay.
7.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
Sorry for the delay.
No, no worries.
This next item is also a special use for an outdoor cafe for Poor Boys Pub. So, excuse me, Poor Boys Pub also took advantage of the temporary outdoor dining. It is underneath the building's existing overhang. You may have driven past and seen and looked at here in the last couple months. They're looking to formalize that. Apologize. They're looking to formalize that with a fence and gates, etc. And they're looking to install a sunshade as well to provide a little shade in the early summer months when the sun is really high on the horizon. With that, staff has reviewed this with them. It is all the overhang, sidewalk, and the drive aisle are all at grade. I've been in contact with the Fire Protection District, and they've talked with the petitioner about a couple small alterations for fire protection. But in general, that's moving along nicely. The comprehensive plan also talks about this area as regional commercial, and it is zone B2. The petitioner is not proposing any changes to the parking lot configuration, lighting, or signage at this time. With that, I would ask if there are any questions that I can answer.
No questions? Okay, if there's no questions, I'll go ahead and open up the public hearing. Planner Chipman, any comments in the chat?
There are no comments.
Okay, if there are no comments, I will go ahead and close the public hearing and go through the findings of fact. I wish I could just copy these from the other one. A, that the establishment, maintenance, or operation of a special use will not be detrimental to endanger the public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare. Staff's response. The proposed outdoor cafe is approximately 358 feet away from the nearest residential dwelling unit. The dwellings are located on the far side of Montgomery Road, a frequent traveled roadway. It is staff's opinion that it should not endanger public health, safety, comfort, or general welfare. B, that the special use will not be injurious to the use and enjoyment of property in the immediate vicinity for the purpose already permitted, not substantially diminish or impair property values within the neighborhood. Response, this should not be injurious or diminish property values. C, that the establishment of a special use will not impede normal and orderly development and improvement of surrounding properties for uses permitted in the district. Response, proposed use does not prohibit the use of surrounding property and is normal and orderly. D, adequate utilities, access road, drainage, and/or necessary facilities have been or are being provided. Adequate utilities, roads, and drainage have been planned for. E, that adequate measures have been or will be taken to provide ingress and egress, so designed as to minimize traffic congestion in public streets. The property provides adequate ingress and egress. F, that the special use in all other respects conform to the applicable regulations of the district in which it's located, except as such regulations may, in each instance, be modified by the village board pursuant to the recommendations of the plan commission. These are the findings of fact. Are there any comments, questions, or any further discussion on the findings of fact?
I
two
have-
questions.
Sure.
Go ahead, Mildred.
Alfred?
I just have the same thought and recommendation for in the future regarding landscaping around the restaurant, as I had mentioned at Grandma Sally's also. To just soften it. It is not it's not a deal breaker, but something to add to that environment. That's all.
Two questions regarding the safety finding of fact. Typically, the pedestrian cross-access among properties is under the canopy, and the canopy will now be blocked. Will within the drive aisle, because that's a turning aisle, will that be striped in order to identify a pedestrian walkway along and around the outdoor cafe seating?
I think that's a very good suggestion. That is not part of the current plan at this point in time. The drive aisle is also fairly wide there, and it's all at grade. So therefore, staff felt that utilizing the area underneath the awning for the restaurant expansion was something to entertain.
Yeah, the concern comes from the what would be southbound drive aisle will go right straight at that. And though it's fine for a vehicle, if there's a vehicle, even with a small trailer, the turning radius may be tight. If you could just, it doesn't affect plan commission, but if you could just have the village engineer take a look at the turning radius and whether or not there's a need to stripe a walk. And the second is a health and safety issue. Currently, the area under the canopy is where people leave the restaurant to go and smoke. Will this be considered part of the restaurant now and smoking prohibited under the canopy?
So this was recently brought up by the Fire Protection District, and the Illinois state law talks about a minimum of 15 feet of buffer from any entrance. So that pretty much encompasses this area. So I do need to have a few more conversations with the petitioner to inform them that this will not be able to be used as a smoking lounge.
Okay, thank you.
Any further comments or questions? If not, I'll look for a motion on PC 2020-006.
I move the approval of PC 2020-006, special use for an outdoor cafe located at Poor Boys Pub, 283 Montgomery Road.
Thank you, Mr. Kelsey. We have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Tom. We have a motion and a second. Mr. Young, can you call the roll, please?
Patrick Kelsey,
Yes.
Tommy Kitis,
Yes.
Mildred McNeil James,
Yes.
Joe Yen,
Yes.
and Mike Hammond.
Yes. Thank you. And this again will go in front of the village board on the Monday, August 10th meeting. Next item on the agenda is community development update and new business. Planner Chipman.
All right, thank you very much. I know it's been a little while since we last met. We do have a few things to update you on. One is, I'm not sure if you saw our public or our social media campaign, but we do have bike share bikes out here in front of the village hall available to rent. Currently, there are 4 municipalities in the system. There were going to be more, however, due to the pandemic, a few of the communities held off for a year or potentially longer. But we're excited to be a part of the 4 communities. So you can certainly bike from the village hall to Aurora as a participating community, Batavia, and then Elgin as well. So we're excited about that. The Waforia building on Mayfield Drive is getting very close to completion. So I'm not sure if you've been out there, but they've installed a lot of the landscaping, and the building is completed. They're working on some of the fencing and a few things in the rear yard. The McAllister's building is also coming along. Do not yet have a completion date for that, but they're making progress there. Staff has been working with CMAP on the UDO, the Unified Development Ordinance. We've been having a lot of meetings with CMAP, so it's still front on our focus, on our radar. So you will be seeing something here this fall in regards to the Unified Development Ordinance. That concludes my community development update.
Awesome. Thank you. I did have a question. What there's several auto repair shops on Douglas Road. What is the ordinance for storing of, scrap tires on the property?
Yeah, so typically they have to be stored inside unless there's a special use for outdoor storage in association with that. If you would like to let me know after the meeting,
Sure.
I'd be happy to take a look at them and see if they're in compliance.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I think the staff should be thanked and commended for going over to the other corner of Douglas and Montgomery Road and making sure that the entire plaza was brought into compliance. Both in front of and behind the plaza has greatly improved after it received the attention. So thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, next meeting is September 3rd, 2020. And if there's nothing else, we are adjourned. Thanks, everybody. Great seeing you. Even though my camera is not working,